Welcome to PhD with Women on It, Hack the Future. My name is Beata Young, and today's PhD Positivity Hack delivered will be by our guest, Dr. Vanessa Marcy. Topic: How humor can make you a better leader. Episode 62 starts here. Let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on Women on It, an inclusive forum of women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to that hustle because empathy is my mojo. And empathy is critical when you work on humor and leadership. My first son has a PhD in arts, my daughter has 2 degrees in communication and journalism, and my youngest son is a burglar. Wow, a burglar? You should kick him out. Nah, he's the only one who makes money. Well, let's find out if Dr. Marcy is making her money with her PhD today. But before we dive into the topic, let me mention a few highlights. Belated Happy Mother's Day to all. Have you seen Michelle Galan's latest painting of mums? Indeed, our love for our children will never end. The choreographer of the full-length Swan Lake in 1988, Heldy Homanson of San Francisco Ballet, took his final bow in a very grand manner with Mother's Day presentation of Swan Lake. It was the first complete sellout since COVID-19 shutdown. All the best, Helgi. A very touching moment in Cook County Jail where mothers recorded themselves reading "I'm coming home soon" to be sent to the caretakers of their children. What a great and humble way to celebrate Mother's Day for all. In today's episode, let me remind you, we are going to learn how humor can make you a better leader. There are so many different options about what it takes to lead, and so much of the information out there is contradictory. There is one thing that is not in dispute, though. Laughter is important for great leadership. Humor has been proven to be one of the most important tools of leadership. It boosts morale and increases productivity. Additionally, it leads to greater creativity and improved relationships among team members. Studies have shown that the ability to laugh at yourself, as well as foster a positive work environment through humor, can be linked to one's effectiveness as a leader. Leaders don't have to be serious, stoic, and stern. In fact, it's much better for them if you're not. We all know that laughter is good for the soul, but it can also make you a better leader at work. Our guest today is an expert of humor and leadership. Dr. Vanessa Mercy is the founder and CEO of Leading with Humor, an innovative consultancy and leadership development firm that helps leaders and organizations to harness the power of humor for more productive, inclusive, and funnier workplaces. Dr. Vanessa bridges entertainment, business, and academia. She is a leadership coach, laughter yoga trainer, international speaker, an academic, and a stand-up comedian. Her research work on humor and leadership has been published in the Financial Times, the European Business Review, La Tribune, and Harvard Business Review France. Her main message: if you want to accelerate your business or career success, you need to understand the art and science of humor and leadership. Let's go into the humor bonanza with Dr. Marcy. And I'm going to ask you first, where in the world are you, Vanessa?
Hello, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm here today on the French Riviera, so quite
French
glamorous destination.
French Riviera, that could be many places, including Saint-Tropez, or where exactly?
I'm in Nice.
Nice, beautiful location, very close to Monaco. I hope the weather is kind to you.
Oh yeah, the weather is very kind to us today.
Beautiful. And let me go with the quotation of Warren Buffett once said, "I buy expensive suits, they look cheap on me. I buy expensive clothes. They look cheap on me today, and I hope we're gonna have some cracking jokes. And I suspect many people expect from you to say a little joke or something because you're a stand-up comedian, don't they?
Oh, yeah, but probably they expect. But I'm not a politically correct stand-up comedian. That's the problem. Uh, I know what type of humor to use and to not use in the workplace, because I used to use the wrong type of humor in the workplace. I mean, the idea of the research I've done with Cambridge University, which is the base of my work, came when I was leading a team and I was cracking jokes all the time. And one of my colleagues came up to me one day and said, "Can you stop cracking jokes because it's not funny?" And that's when I started to think and to wonder if there is a place to say to use humor, and if you can use humor, if you can use different types of humor according to the gender of the person. Because I was just out of a room with some male colleagues, and they found me hilarious. And then I shared the same jokes with my female colleagues, and they didn't find me funny at all. And then I pushed further, and I started to think, what if you use humor with your peers, with your hierarchy? Should you use a different type of humor? And I pushed the concept further and further until I came up with a research and a concept that was my that served as my final project for my MBA at Cambridge University, and it became my company.
Okay, so leading with humor is your company, is also your thesis. And what was the findings of your thesis?
The findings were very interesting, because what we discover is that even if women you think humor is very important, it's an essential tool in leadership, they don't use it. And I found it very sad that women deprive themselves of a very powerful leadership tool, because what we found is that they are scared of being judged. And it's true that there are lots of research. You can find a lots of research if you Google about women should not use humor at work, but it don't take into account the different types of humor, because research found that there are different types of humor. And when you read about the research, they just asking women and men to say the same jokes. And if you are a man or a woman, the humor is not received the same, is not used and received the same way.
Well, it leads me to another research I came across before I joined this live stream today. I was trying to prepare for some questions because it's such a fascinating topic, and your thesis is actually kind of not directly confirmed, but I found that women quite often use humor in a wrong way. So, for example, we tend to deprecate ourselves by saying, "Well, I'm a blonde. That's probably why I made a mistake," even if it's a tedious mistake. So,
Yeah.
what is the right way of making jokes in office environment and not deprecating yourself?
Yeah, I think people, they love self-deprecating humor, especially if you are from the UK, because it's engraved in the DNA to use a self-deprecating humor. And according to research, women tend to use it more than men. And actually, if you look at what self-deprecation means, it means that is going to be, you are going to put yourself down. It's detrimental to yourself. So why should you use this type of humor? It's a great tool, but only if you need to reduce the social distance with one person in the company, and usually the person you need to reduce the social distance with is your subordinates. If you want to communicate with your peers or with your hierarchy, you should use a type of humor that is going to enhance and showcase your skill, your expertise, and not put yourself down. In France, we have the same way of saying I'm blonde, even if I'm not blonde. If we do a mistake, that's kind of a metaphor to say I'm a bit stupid, and sorry for all the blonde there. But it's something that is common in France to make a joke about the fact of being blonde. And women tend to say that in France as well. Oh, there's a tiny mistake on my PowerPoint. So, oh, sorry, today I'm blonde. But rather than doing that, we should actually just move on and not trying to cover mistakes with humor. Humor should come on the top of your performance, not to use it to hide something that happened. And if you think about it, men tend to not really pay attention to those small mistakes. And if you are using humor to cover that up, you are actually making a big deal of a really small mistake. Rather, you should use it to connect. And as a woman, you need to be more assertive than men. It's a fact. We need to prove more in the workplace. And if you are using self-deprecating humor, you are actually deserving yourself. And all your effort to look professional are going to be diminished, and you are putting in jeopardy your status as a leader. So it's better to use a type of humor that is positive, that is either situational, so either you are going to make fun of the situation, or either it's going to be positive for yourself, meaning that the punchline is going to be something positive about yourself rather than something negative.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. No offense taken. I'm still blonde and still happy to continue this conversation. Why do you have to laugh at yourself? I mean, why is it important to have a little bit of laugh at yourself?
Well, it's important personally, because when you are able to laugh at yourself, well, first you laugh, which we should all do every day, which is good for our body, for our soul, for pretty much everything. Then it allows you to bypass the fear of judgment if you laugh at yourself, and also to say to the person in front of you that you are accessible, that you don't take yourself too seriously. But again, it really depends on the situation. Humor seems something very easy, but it's much more powerful and deep than we might think. When you study humor, you realize that there are many layers, that we apply humor in many different situations, that is part of our communication, but we don't necessarily know how to use it properly. And when I say properly, I mean to our advantage. And laughing at yourself is very important, because we tend to be very serious at work, and we think because we are serious, people are going to take ourselves seriously. But there is no proof that if you take yourself too seriously, you are going to be more performant than someone who is having fun, who is accessible, who is smiling all the time. And those kind of people tend to be the people that are attracting others. And if you are attracting others, people, they like you, you are increasing your likability, and you are a more positive leader. People see you as a more positive leader.
Let me be here a little bit of a Devious advocate, because there is a German Technische Universität München, which we know that Germans usually have a very dry sense of humor, if they do have. And apparently they found out that women who smile less could be promoted more at symposium hosted by them, researchers shared their discovery of several interesting insights into the selection and assessment of leaders in both business and academia. Largely, they concurred that long-held stereotypes still play a large role in today's modern workforce, especially as they pertain to female leaders. Among their key findings was women are perceived as less willing to take on leadership roles if they give a cheerful impression than men who display similar emotions. Is there a way to fight with this toxic bias?
I think it really depends the situation. It's about personal assessment. As a leader, your first your focus is your team, is the people who are working with you. For those people, I think you should use and abuse laughing and humor and smiling, because you need to reduce what I mentioned, the social distance. Because when you are a leader, it comes with a feeling of intimidation. People, they don't necessarily communicate with you and tell you everything because you are the leader. So you need to understand how to use humor with those people in order to be more accessible. When you are with your peer and with your hierarchy, it's another matter. It depends the situation, it depends the relationship, and it depends the person. Humor is a language. It's a way to communicate with someone. You would not use the same words, the same tone with everyone at every level in a company. And the same way, you need to be strategical with your sense of humor. And that was the purpose of my research. There was a framework on how to use humor strategically according to the people, according to the person in front of you, and according to the situation. If you are in a one-to-many, one-to-one, if you are in front of your peers, your hierarchy, your subordinates, if you are in front of a woman, or if you are in front of a man. And it's even more interesting because humor change according to your age, according to the age of the person who is in front of you, according to the culture. You mentioned German. The culture is different, so we all think that maybe German don't have a sense of humor. Well, everyone has a sense of humor, but we all laugh at different things according to our culture, according to the country. And that's very interesting because that means that you often have some diplomatic havoc due to our way of using humor when we are abroad or when we meet someone from another culture.
So let's imagine you are a new leader in a new company. How do you fit into the structure using humor? What would be your advice? How to start?
I would start with assessing if there are any humor in the company, if it's part of the culture of the company. If you go to a new job and you are meeting the recruiter, start with a small joke, something that is very light-hearted and that works all the time, or that you've seen a comedian has done, to try and see if the person is smiling. If the person is smiling, that means that their response is positive and they are allowing you to continue to maybe joke. So that's a positive, connection that you've just made with that person. If not, perhaps the person is not open to humor, and maybe you should question if you want to join a company if humor is not welcome there. There are some companies that are making humor part of their recruitment process because they think and they want their culture to be positive. They want people to be free to banter and to interact positively with each other. And so they have made a conscious effort in incorporating humor within the recruitment process. It's your job as a new entry in a new employee or a new person in a company to either assess it in the company, assess it in within the person in front of you, whatever it is, your hierarchy, your peers or your subordinates in your team. And if you feel as a leader that your team is lacking humor, it's up to you to change that and to include to make humor one of the essential part of your leadership, and to use it with them in order to give them the permission to do it.
Right, we have a couple of questions from our lovely audience. Let's start with In Love and in Pain. Dr. Vanessa, can you tell us a story where you can't stop from laughing and your stomach hurts?
Oh, well, since I started laughter yoga, I mean, that happens all the time, because it's very interesting, because humor is viral. So when you start laughing, I mean, laughter is viral. So when you start laughing, people, they laugh as well in return, and that means that you can quickly spiral into laughing out loud and even crying out of laughter sometimes. But I mean, it happens to me all the time. I try to joke all the time. It's now, a professional, default, if I can say it like that, because I tend to joke with everybody I'm going to meet. So I joke with my family all the time, and even people I meet in the street. If I see that someone is not happy, if I see that someone is like, not really smiley, and I meet someone in the elevator, or doesn't matter, I'm going to try to cheer the person up. Because I think that if you can make someone smile, you are making their day, and that can completely shift their energy and shift their day. And it's a bit like this, the chain of kindness. You can create a chain of laughter. You can make someone smile, and that person is going to be more positive and do something positive, and maybe make someone else laugh. But laughter, I mean, I love when I do stand-up, and I do stand-up from time to time. I uncontrollably, I can't really remember a specific anecdote, but I'm quite lucky, because I can say that I'm laughing every day. And I have a family which also has a great sense of humor, so they make me really laugh on a regular basis, and often, at least once a week, I'm crying out of laughter.
So, do I take it that it was easy for you because you were born in a family that used laughter and had no problem with having good sense of humor? How would you, is humor a skill that somebody can acquire, and how would you go about acquiring this skill?
Well, I think the background obviously is helping. My father has a killing sense of humor, and now that I'm doing stand-up comedy, I can say that I know where my sense of humor is coming from. But nevertheless, I made mistakes with humor, and I'm sure that some people don't find me funny at all, because as we all know, humor is perceived differently according to the different people that are in a room. So some people are going to find that I'm hilarious, and some people are like, maybe not. But we can all learn humor. That's what I teach. I don't necessarily teach humor to be a stand-up comedian, but I teach leaders how to use humor to their advantage, because this is so important to know, to be comfortable in using humor in order to enhance your relationship, to create positive relationship with everyone in the workplace. As a comedian, I've seen people starting stand-up comedy with zero sense of humor, in the sense that they were shy, they were scared. Some people had some learning difficulties, or they had autism, or they had other things that were making learning stand-up difficult. And I've seen them winning awards on stand-up comedy, conducting rooms with like thousands of people. So if those people can become professional comedians, I think we can all be better at using humor. Like, trust me, this question comes back all the time. Can we all learn humor? Yeah. If you are someone who is scared of stage, like I was before I started stand-up, who has autism, or I know a woman who is a great comedian, UK comedian, and she has a paralysis syndrome, so it's not really easy to speak for her, and she's now on BBC TV being a comedian. Nothing can stop you. Nothing is an excuse to not learn how to use humor.
So how do you start? You talk about on your website, we're going to post a link to your website shortly. You talk about the humor methodology. What is it?
Well, the humor methodology is really about how to use it for specific leadership situation. When I'm with my clients in coaching or in training, I explain to them, we found out together what is their sense of humor, what is making them tick, and what is I teach them how to recognize the sense of humor in others. And then we work on the different situation, could be leadership situation. So for example, how to use humor with people in your team that are from different culture, how to use humor to negotiate, how to use humor to do better sales, how to use humor to ease a conflict, how to use humor to be more resilient, to build a team, to recruit people. So I've researched every situation that a leader might encounter, but through the angle of humor. I wanted to know if humor could be useful in that situation. If not, and finding an easy formula that leaders can apply, so they feel confident in using humor in those situations.
Well, a person without a sense of humor is like a wagon without springs. It's jolted by every pebble on the road, Henry Ward Beecher says.
Yeah.
Let's go into next question. Olga Vasina, lovely to see you. So does this mean there is a humor chauvinism? Do we have a chance of achieving amusing equality in the workplace, Dr. Vanessa? That's coming back to the female leaders using humor.
Absolutely, and that's why I go to companies and I conduct workshops in a women's network. Why? Because women are better equipped than men to use it. We have a natural empathy. We are naturally using positive humor because we care more. I mean, that's all that is statistic, and there are wonderful men that are using positive humor all the time. But according to science, women are better equipped, but they don't use it. So we should be more bold with our sense of humor, because totally we can do it. Obviously, we are all different, and as a woman, when I studied, before I studied humor, my sense of humor was very aggressive and negative at sometimes. So I'm not one of those women, but I learned to have a better and more positive sense of humor thanks to my research. So I'm my own guinea pigs, and I can say that it works. And humor can be really the way to stand out, the way to connect quickly with other people in the workplace, and to really make a difference. We all want workplaces where we can have a bit of a banter with our colleagues, a positive banter, not hurting anyone, not putting anyone down, just like properly laughter and connection.
We have another question from Agatha Bellon, an article by Lucy Burton, she corrected herself, in the Telegraph yesterday, notes banter can be very toxic in a company. How does a woman avoid toxic banter in their workplace and make it healthy humor?
Well, it depends, but it's not the banter, it's the topic of the banter that can be difficult. We have all encountered sexism or any other form of discrimination through humor. I've done a TEDx on that topic because I think people don't realize the impact of their words, and the fact that when you use humor, you can you can convey a very strong message, and that message can be positive or negative. And some people might use it to make people feel good around them, and some people are going to use it to diminish other people. So it really depends. It's not about the banter, and banter should not be banned. It's avoiding topics, and more of that, it's making people conscious that their sense of humor has an impact, and they should have the intention, a positive intention, when they use humor. As a woman, when it happens, you can learn to come back with a comeback, to be really good at comebacks in order to respond with humor to this type of humor. Also, you can decide to change the topic of the conversation. But you should always respond. You should always respond when you are attacked. And if you can do it with humor, that's even better.
Right, we are back with women who are smiling, and it reminds me a story of my mother when she was smiling at professor because she thought, well, I don't know the answers to his questions, but at least I will smile cutely. And eventually he said, why are you smiling? So her response was, that's the way my face looks. What would you say if you had a sexist joke? What would be your response, Vanessa? How to react to toxic humor in the workplace?
I often get this question as well, and I think we should all respond according to our own values, because as I mentioned, I have an aggressive sense of humor. I use it on stage. So if someone attack me, I would be, oh, that's too good to be true. You are attacking me. I'm a stand-up comedian. Thank you for making my life easier, because for me it's like a game. I've had this situation. I've been in those situations many times. But my response is going to be rather aggressive. And it's not everybody's choice. So women often comes to me and tell me, I don't feel comfortable in being aggressive. And you don't have to. That's the good news. You can respond according to your sense of humor, according to your own value. If you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. You don't have to. But for me, I mean, it's a defense mechanism, and I would immediately respond with the same tone and responding the same way that the other person as attacking me. So it depends. But yeah.
We have another question from Olga, and she actually stole my question here. What stand-up comedians most inspire you, and which have the best lessons for business, apart from you, of course, Dr. Vanessa?
So I know that a lot of comedians in France, because I'm based in France, are now talking about business. Personally, all the people I like don't necessarily talk about business. What I think you can learn from a comedian is, and that can serve in business, it's the way they command the room. It's the way they behave on stage. It's the way they connect with people. But I think every comedian can have something interesting, an interesting joke about the workplace that you can reuse, and there are many. So it's up to you to look for the comedian that make you tick and that you relate to. I watched on Prime Peter Russell's, and it really made me laugh. And it's about differences, intercultural differences. I used to like Chelsea Handler, who is American. She's a very aggressive comedian. But I don't take my business lesson from comedian. But I advise people to look for comedian for their jokes, and maybe to steal some of their material for the workplace. Definitely.
Well, I have to talk about somebody that I really admire from the past. She was Dorothy Parker, writing about the subject of committing suicide. And this is her resume. This is a little poem she made. Razors pain you, rivers are damp, acids stain you, and drugs cause cramp. Guns aren't lawful, noses give, gas smells awful, you might as well leave. Is there something that you would advise avoiding? Is there any topic that you advise not to talk about in the
No,
office environment?
because stage, I mean, for the workplace, stage for a stand-up comedian is a space for expression, and there is no taboo on stage. Even if like lots of comedians have had trouble, in theory, it's a space where you can express yourself. You can try things, and humor comes from surprise and pushing the boundaries. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least we are making people think. In a workplace is different because you don't know who is in front of you. You don't know their sensitivity. You don't know what's happening to them. So you should try carefully when you are using humor, unless you know the person very, very well. Then you can joke about pretty much everything. The topics, I mean, if you jokes about suicide and you have a person you don't know, maybe she attempted, she has suicidal thoughts, or maybe someone from her family just died. So you don't know enough the people in the workplace to be comfortable with topics such as death or sickness or politics, money, pretty much anything that you would avoid at a Christmas dinner with your family. Avoid it at the workplace.
Cool advice. Thank you so much for that, Vanessa. We have got Esmeralda saying, quoting you, if you make someone smile, you're making their day. I love that, Dr. Vanessa. I
Thank
love
you.
that as well. Well captured. Olga Vasina made a comment on my comment that she stole my question. Great minds think alike. That absolutely. Thank you so much for your great question, Olga. I wanted to ask you whether you've heard of this. This is something I just discovered. Pratfall effect, which is a psychological phenomenon that claims we distance ourselves from people who appear to be perfect. And leaders use humor as part of their leadership skills to humanize themselves in the eyes of others. So, in other words, you not only make yourself approachable, but also you release some good pheromones and good positive atmosphere in the office. Talk a little bit about the laughing yoga. What's the purpose? How do you do it? And what is the outcome of that session, Marcy?
So the first time someone mentioned laughter yoga, I was like, what is that? And during the pandemic, I got interested. So I started to pass the certification because I realized it's quite complementary with what I'm doing, because humor is the trigger in a way, and laughter is the bullet, is the in a way it's very linked, because humor in itself, it's nothing without the other person laughing. And all the good hormones, all the good thing you feel, it's because the other person is either smiling or laughing. And when they do that, when you make someone laugh or smile, you receive so much. I mean, you are it's making you feel good. You have a lot of rewards in your body. Looking it, I don't know. It's like when you are at the service of someone. We say that if you are happy if you serve your community, if you serve other people. And for me, making someone laugh is it's being at the service of the community, because you make the other person feel good. You are going to release in their system all the good hormones, dopamine, serotonin, and in return, the person is going to make you smile as well and feel as good as they are. So it's pretty much like sex. You both feel good in doing it. And that's why I think it has the power to change the world, because if we can make everyone smile around us, then people would be less negative, they would be less anxious, they would be less stressed. And I think it can really change with a tiny thing, which is like smiling, using humor, things that we have in our possession. We can do it. We don't need to buy it. It's free, and you can really change the morale of someone. You can change their attitude. I think if we were all smiling and laughing all the time, we would feel much better. And it's recognized scientifically that laughter is making you feel, is strengthening your immune system, is making you feel less anxious. It's good for your heart. It's making you stronger. So if you feel sick, you are going to recovering a bit faster. It's helping you to connect with others. It's helping you to maintain positivity. It has so many great benefits that I decided to include now in all my conferences and training. I include laughter yoga. And it's called laughter yoga because it's a mix of yoga and yoga breathing with laughter exercise. And it looks utterly ridiculous when you do it. And every time I make someone do a laughter yoga, they're like, what the hell is that? But when you do it, it's actually a very interesting effect, because if you do it, if you follow it, if you are all in and you're like, okay, it looks ridiculous, I look ridiculous, everybody looks ridiculous, but I'm still going to do it, you are bypassing the fear of judgment, because that is stopping us to laugh in public. It's the fear of judgment. But once you do it, you can stop it. I run a new program, a leadership program for women in March. I launched it in March, and I made them do it. And they were like, oh my God, what is that? I don't want to do it. And I asked them to do a little challenge and to record themselves and do it every day. And by the end of the challenge, they were doing it in public with people around them, and they were recording themselves and pushing other people to do it. They were literally addicted to it. That was beautiful, because we all need to laugh at least 15 minutes a day, and we don't do it naturally. So the laughter yoga is a way. There are exercises, so you can do it yourself, or you can do it in group, or with your family, or with your kids. But at least you get your dose of endorphin and serotonin. You get your daily dose of laughter.
Well, you definitely make me smile all the time. My muscles on cheeks are stretched to the limit. And Vanessa, I know that you kindly shared one of the questions I was going to ask during the show, and I am going to read the answer. The question was, what advice would you give to other females to help their career or start an entrepreneurial journey? And here is one of the answers on your post. Rosalind Palmer, who kindly connected to me and offered to also be on the show. And she says, in an early job in a publishing company, there was an old guy in the post room. He told me one day, don't stop smiling, as it lights up my day. Whatever happens, stay true to you, and that joy I see. Even in my darkest of days, I remember this, and that he called me Smiler. So I seek to find that joy. What is your advice, Vanessa? I'm wondering, and I'm really happy that you can bring so many positivity hacks to our audience.
Well, it's not so much a positive hack than something I learned at the beginning of my career, and especially not even at the beginning. Now that I work as an entrepreneur, is to think about the big picture first. Because when I started, I didn't have a career plan or a business plan, and so I was just seizing the opportunities. But I think it's really important to think where you want to be in next year, in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years? Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be a CEO? Do you want to make an exit from your business? Because once you know where you want to go, then you can think about how you can get there. And I think everything you should do from that moment should be at the service of that goal. And so that's something I didn't get, but that's something I advise everyone to do, because we are not necessarily strategical with our career, and we need it. And as I mentioned, I would add that, what I mentioned before, is that if you want to work in a positive environment, assess it, assess the company, assess the recruiter during the recruitment process, because even if the job looks good, you would be disappointed if you are someone positive. And it happened to me many times. If you have someone who likes to joke, who wants to be in a positive work environment, you won't last in an environment that is toxic. And this is a quick way, a quick act to decipher, to assess if humor and positivity is part of the work culture.
Absolutely. We have got 2 comments. First comment from Marianne Madera. Thank you so much, Dr. Vanessa, for your tips. I will definitely try laughter yoga. It might make me lose weight.
That's you can lose weight doing laughter every day. You can lose, I think, something like 1 kilo a year. So
Well, together is, as you mentioned, sex and laughter is definitely best medicine. And that reminds me of our previous guest, Em Stroud, who was giving us her view on the topic of laughter. The PhD was titled "Laughter is the Best Medicine." I encourage you to watch it later on. And Patrick is making a comment. I love your concept, Dr. Vanessa. Let's recreate the summer of 1967, but this time share free humor all around the world. There you go. I can sense there is an invitation to IPO Vid in Patrick's opinion, which is a live stream hosted every Tuesday by Patrick Young. That would be my husband. Anyway, let's go into another question that I lined up for you, Vanessa. What are the top 5 skills all career-driven females, in your opinion, should have, apart from, I suspect, the first one will be laughter?
Yeah, sense of humor was my first one. You guessed right. So sense of humor, and I think it goes with emotional intelligence, because for me, humor is the ultimate emotional intelligence tool, in the sense that you need to understand yourself, others, to have empathy, and it's good for your social. It's a good social skills to have. Social skill. Also communication, because as I mentioned, humor is a way to communicate. It's a language, and if you have great communication skills, then if you are a great communicator, you can connect with people, you can convey your point. Self-confidence, and us women, we tend to not have enough confidence, and again, it's part of what humor brings you, because you can't really own your joke, and you can really connect with people if you don't have this self-confidence. So in working your self-confidence, you can also improve your humor. And also resilience. We know the workplace might be difficult sometimes. Workplace sucks sometimes. And life in general as well sometimes. So you need to be very resilient. And what I learned is that humor, the practice of humor and laughter, can make you much more resilient in the workplace and in your personal life as well.
None of us are able to achieve success without some help along the way. Who are you most grateful to? Who helped you the most in your career?
Well, in my career, it's like in my career and in my life, it's my parents. I think we all have if you are lucky, you have your family that is behind you. For me, it was my parents, and they always been with me, and they believed in me when I told them that I was going to leave my job to create a company to help organization and people to thrive through humor in the workplace. So if you have people that can believe in your crazy idea and be there with you, I mean, you absolutely need to cherish them. They are pretty special.
Well, not only that PhD, I hope, is paying you back, and your parents are proud of you, Vanessa. What is a number one book you think would enhance your career at the beginning?
I think like the one that well, there are many because I read a lot and I think there are many books, but I will recommend the Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. I read it not long ago, but I wish I had this book before I started in the workplace, because they have a very efficient framework to understand what you want to do, with your life and with your career. And if I would have been more strategical, maybe my life would have been completely different.
Well, I think your life turned out to be pretty good. I mean, you've got lots of engagement. I follow you closely on Instagram and on LinkedIn, and I see you've got many beautiful events coming up soon. What's next for Vanessa? What is happening in your world of excitement?
So the book. I mean, first it's the book. I got a contract with a publishing house a few months ago, and now I'm working on it. So it's taking a lot of my energy and my mind's power at the moment, because I need to give the first draft by the end of next month. But I'm going to write my first book about humor and leadership for a big publishing house in France. And the good thing is going to be translated in English after. So hopefully you will all be able to read it. And I'm excited to share my work and to finally all the things I've done for the last 3 years are helping me to write this book. So it's beautiful. A beautiful achievement, a beautiful milestone as well. I don't know what the book is going to bring me. And second, I have launched the Leading with Humor for Women last March, as I mentioned, and I'm looking forward to recruiting the next cohort and to work with women in order to help them to use humor in the workplace, but also to live a life filled with more laughter. Because in that program we work on the career, but also on the personal life and how humor can help you to achieve more life work balance and happiness. And by the way, if you would like to ask question or to be connected, I think, Beata, you can share the link. I would be happy to speak with you and to answer your question, any question. Please book 30 minutes with me, and let's discuss, let's chat. I like to discuss with people, to meet new people.
Discovery call with Dr. Vanessa is in the chat box, so you're more than welcome to fill in the form and connect with Dr. Vanessa. Vanessa, one of the final questions we like to ask is, what is your life lesson quote, and how did it change you? How did it impact your career?
So that one of the quote I really well, there are two quotes that I like, but one I used it on my TED talk, and I saw a question about the TED talk, and yes, it's available on YouTube and on the platform, the TEDx platform as well. And it's from Maya Angelou, and it's, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And it's linked to what I do, because for me the essence of humor is about making people feel good, and if you can bring that feeling to everybody you meet, this I think will unravel a wave of positivity, and that would have the power to change the world one laugh at a time.
And what's the second one then?
So the second one is I posted it on LinkedIn I think last week, and I like it. It's not from a philosopher; it's from someone anonymous on Facebook. But it's, you can't please everyone. You are not a jar of Nutella. And I love that quote, because we exhaust ourselves trying to please everyone, and you want to be liked, but when you do a job like mine, which is like comedy and being on stage and teaching people, you often have criticism. Let's be true. I mean, you can't please everyone. You can't have like 100% of people 100% of the time liking you. And I think with social media, we all think people have perfect life. And we have to be realistic. You are not going to please everyone, and that's okay. If you can focus on the only person that you impacted, that's what matters. Because those people are going to be, I mean, to like someone else, to relate to someone else's message, not yours. But that's okay. We are all different. And I think we should all stick it to our mirror. You can please everyone. You are not a jar of Nutella, because I think Nutella, most people like it. So you are more likely to please everyone if you are melted chocolate to spread on a toast rather than being yourself. And that's okay.
That's okay too. I like to use "you're not chicken combo soup," so not everybody has to like you. Now let's go to our favorite question. Imagine the pandemic is over and you can invite any person in the world to have face-to-face breakfast anywhere in the world. Who would you invite and where would you go to?
So I think it's going to be very surprising, because I would like to invite women who spend their life in creativity. And she's a fashion icon, and she's 100 years old. I don't know if you know her. She's Iris Apfel. And
Oh, I love her.
I love her, and I think it would be great to discuss with Iris Apfel, because I own her to not be scared anymore of aging. Her and a late comedian stand-up comedian who was still on stage at 84. And now we can see that more and more women over 50 are being celebrated. Some are becoming a top model. So my dream of becoming Kate Moss will finally happen, maybe when I will be 70, hopefully, finger crossed. And I think it would be a very interesting conversation to I would enjoy being with Iris Apfel. And because she's in New York, I would go to the Blue Box. So it's the restaurant where you can have breakfast at Tiffany. And I would love to feel like Audrey Hepburn having breakfast at Tiffany. So I've not been there yet, but it's on my list.
Well, that's on your bucket list, and I hope you're gonna get there, because I know that you're going to Big Apple. So shortly you will have opportunity. If not with Iris Apfel, next month you will have opportunity to have breakfast a la Audrey Hepburn. Good humor is a tonic for mind and body. It is the best antidote for anxiety and depression. It is a business asset. It attracts and keeps friends. It lightens human burdens. It is the direct route to serenity and contentment, Grenville Glaser said. Well, when you focus on positives, the positives get more positive. Thank you so much, Dr. Vanessa, for today's show. It's been very, very empowering. Next week, we are talking about how to raise money and empower your audience in medical startup. Thank you so much for our great audience today and questions from Olga Vasina, In Love and in Pain, Agata Bellon, I. Esmeralda, Marianne Madera, and Patrick L. Young. We are going to finish with another great quotation of Maya Angelou. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Today is your day to hack the future and hack the positivity you want. Thank you.
Thank you.